the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Good afternoon. Welcome to the second hour of the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here, Eric Frandsen alongside, or I guess across from me. I say alongside on my radio.
We're not hip to hip over here.
I know. I am when I do my radio broadcast. I say I'm alongside Josh Anderson because he's standing next to me, but you're not standing next to me. We're not even standing. So
No.
We're sitting
across the way.
Sitting comfortably in a climate-controlled office or radio booth.
Studio, yeah.
Soundproof, too, or fairly soundproof. Have you ever tested the limits of soundproofing in these here?
Yeah. When I for some reason, I got tagged to be like the person who gives tours to Cub Scouts. And so there's been a number of times that I've brought groups in here and we've pointed out kind of the soundproofing that we have in here. And we'll have some of the kids stand outside and we'll really crank it up in here. And they can kind of tell there's something going on, but they can't exactly tell until we open the door and it blows them away.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's fairly soundproof in here. But anyway, enough about ourselves. Welcome to the show, as I said. Talking about the Aggies. Spent a lot of time on UConn in the first hour. It's a preview Tuesday. Of course, we're going to spend a lot of time, and maybe we'll mention them a little bit more in this hour, but going to talk a little more specifically about the Aggies. I know we keep reiterating their first quarter problems. There's a few different storylines aside. Believe it or not, there's more to the Aggies than just their first quarter problems. There's good and bad storylines going leading into this week. I know certainly one of the good storylines I think is the improvements in the passing game. It feels like the passing game has just opened up. With McKay Hillstead coming in, making some ballsy throws. I know I clipped a couple of my favorite ones in the Monday cooldown article. He throws for 399 yards, 47 pass attempts, which are probably both freshman records. I don't know about the 47 pass attempts.
It's got to be up there.
I'd have to crawl through a bunch of different box scores going way back. I can tell you it's the most since at least 2011. Haven't gone back since then. But it's quite a few pass attempts. 399 passing yards, I think was the most since one of Jordan Love. I think since Wake Forest in 2019. I think Jordan Love had like 414 in a game. So McKay Hillstead's opened things up, and his wide receivers, I think a big part of McKay Hillstead's development is, sure, he's pulling the trigger a little bit more than Cooper Legas was, but he's got good wide receivers to throw to. His wide receivers have made him look good at times, where there have been some slightly off-target passes, but he puts it in a good enough spot for the wide receivers to go up there and make a play. And so I think the passing game is really coming together behind a promising young quarterback and a pretty dang group of wide receivers, where I'd say there's at least 5 wide receivers you trust out there throwing the ball to.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Terrell Vaughn is the favorite target, and for good reason. I mean, he's making things happen. 6 touchdowns, almost 350 yards, 38 catches through 4 games. It's crazy. I mean, it just continues to make great plays all over the field. Micah Davis has come along. Jalen Royals has definitely come along and played well. But you've had some moments where other wide receivers have made good plays and bailed out the quarterback. Like Bowman's had some great down the field, stretching the defense. Otto Tia. We've seen a little bit more tight end action here as of late with Brock Lane being more healthy. So there are some really good, reliable targets for Hillstead to throw the ball to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up where Terrell Vaughn ranks in terms of receptions this season. I was almost there by the time you were done talking. I'm trying to figure out. I'm on the NCAA stat page. Let's see. Receptions per game. Terrell Vaughn ranks, looks like 3rd nationally, I think. Yeah, so fellow Mountain West receiver Torrey Horton ranks 1st in receptions per game. And I think in just total receptions, Vaughn ranks 2nd because Horton, he has 35 receptions in 3 games. Vaughn has 38 receptions in 4 games. And the leader, a name I can't pronounce, who plays for Florida Atlantic, has 43 receptions. So Terrell Vaughn, he's not dominating in yards per catch, but just his ability to reel in a pass, gain some yards. I mean, 5 touchdowns, that alone I think that might be more than he had all of last year. I think he had somewhere between 4 and 6 last year.
Yeah, it's 6 so far this year.
Yeah, so he's just been absolutely crazy this year in just how good he's been. And yeah, you mentioned, we've had great moments set from Micah Davis, Colby Bowman. I think Jalen Royals has been a very consistent number 2 guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been consistently catching 4 or 5, 6, 7 passes, catching touchdowns. And yeah, so it's just, you've got so many different weapons to use. And there are a couple of, Blake Anderson was asked not only about Terrell Vaughn, and maybe some kind of comparisons to Devin Tompkins and as far as like use in the offense. Then he was asked about like all the other receivers. So we'll start with the Terrell Vaughn clip where he kind of talks. I think it was Al just asked like comparing Terrell to Devin, and so here's a clip from Blake Anderson on that. Yeah, the similarities between Terrell Vaughn and Devin Tompkins, at least in the offense.
And there's a lot of similarities. Their skill set's a little different, but yeah, they're both equally as important to what we do. It's strange at times the ball's not even really designed to go where he's at, but based off of how we play in our splits and our spacing, he's still able to get himself open and be a target for us. We're not trying to push the ball to him every snap. It just good players get open. Quarterback has confidence in him. The matchup's a problem for people because of where he plays and how we move him around. But I've been super pleased with him. We expected him to play well before the season started. Not sure that a number ever came to mind other than that we wanted him to be heavily involved in each game plan and felt like that he could be a difference maker, and I think he is.
Yeah, so the number is, I mean, what is as far as receptions per game? Like 9.5 receptions per game? That's the number we're getting.
Yeah.
Like I said, he obviously with Blake, he's not like thinking, oh, you have to get 10 catches per game, Terrell. No, it's just I think he's even overperforming our expectations. Because I thought he'd put up similar, slightly better numbers than last year. I think last year he was, it was kind of, he started a little bit late, so I expected it slightly higher numbers, but similar catches per game, similar yards, similar touchdowns. Just an increase largely just in volume. That's what I expected. He was going to start from day one, so he's going to get a few more catches, few more yards, 1 or 2 more touchdowns. 56 catches last year in, all of his appearances. 38 so far. Like he's on pace to, by halfway through the season, to have exceeded his entire total from last season.
Yeah, he's been great. Just a very reliable wide receiver who finds a way to get open. It's just interesting to hear Coach Anderson talk about it. It's not like they have all these designed plays to keep going to Vaughn. It's just he finds himself open. He knows how to be shifty and lose his defender and be available to his quarterback. And the quarterbacks have come to know and realize if all else fails, look for number 0.
Yeah, he'll be open.
He will find a way.
Yeah, he finds a way to be open. Now, of course, we mentioned a lot of other great wide receivers, a lot of great play from other wide receivers, not in the same volume, but you go through all the games, like Utah State's top 6 players probably all have at least one big play, usually multiple big plays. So here's Anderson, he was asked about, because early in the press conference he's asked about Terrell, and then later it's like, what about your other wide receivers? They're doing pretty good too. And so here's Blake responding to that question.
Yeah, we were excited going into the season about what that room was capable of. We recruited heavily with both Micah and Colby Bowman, who's come in and given us some good snaps. we knew what Terrell was capable of. And I think as the season progressed, we saw more and more what Jalen Royals really could be. He had a great spring. He's coming into the season with a ton of confidence. He's got speed. He can elevate. Micah's made a couple of the best catches we've had in a very long time. Colby Bowman is starting to show up, had a big touchdown. We feel like there's a lot of different combinations we can put out there. We can be in 3 wides. We can be in 4. Brock brings a lot to the table. And it could be Colby or Micah or Otto or Jalen. We've got a lot of versatility. That's not something that we had a year ago. We felt very, very handcuffed a little bit last year with just the lack of depth and experience at that position. And now we've got a lot more depth. And even guys you haven't seen yet that we feel are going to be really good players by the end of the season once they've had just a little bit more time to grow up in this offense. And both Grant Page and Arcellus Johnson, but even Kahanu Davis has shown some value. We've got guys to go to. I like where we're headed in that. We just got to keep working to get better.
Yeah, the Aggies seem to have just tons of depth at wide receivers. I mentioned you got Terrell Vaughn at the top, who's a volume receptions guy. Jalen Royals, a great outside receiver. He's got 19 catches for, $197, 2 touchdowns. I mean, you've got, there were at least 7 players on this team that have at least 5 receptions on the year. You got 12 guys that have caught a pass overall.
Yeah, and 6 guys who have, as you were talking about earlier, who've had big moments, big plays. 6 different receivers. That includes Rasul Faison and Brock Lane at the tight end position, and Faison out of running back. But you've got 6 players who have receiving yards of their biggest play that were explosives of 20 yards or more. So that's a lot of versatility and options to stretch the field. Some of those were yards after catch. You have to give them a lot of credit for it, but it does illustrate that this is an offense that can go deep. And we saw when they started going deep against James Madison, that opened up a lot of other things for them, and they were more effective. Not sure why they wait to go deep to stretch the field a little bit, but we've seen in games when they do that, they tend to have more success. And they have the players to do it. Just like to see them utilized a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think McKay Hillstead helps with that.
Yes.
He's been able to establish.
He gives them a better chance.
Yeah, he's established good connections. With Micah Davis, several deep passes to him. I think 3 of his passes make up for the majority of his yards. He's got 10 receptions, and I think most of his yards come on 3 of those, or at least 2 of them. Colby Bowman, long pass, obviously, in the last game. But yeah, obviously, Terrell Vaughn's catching passes a little shorter. But yeah, the versatility of the wide receiver core. Too, Micah and Jalen are kind of both short to intermediate. I don't know why Jalen Royals isn't running down more because he's supposedly the fastest guy on the team. But Bowman and Davis are showing the ability to stretch the field as well. So you have guys who can catch short passes, get yards after the catch. You have guys that can do little intermediate routes, hitch routes, crossing routes, different things like that. And you guys that can just go and just air it out to them, and they'll go out there and they'll make a catch. And so, yeah, it's great being able to not only have 2 or 3 reliable receivers, because the Aggies had that last year. They had Vaughn last year, and they had the guy whose name I'm suddenly spacing. Brian Cobbs.
Oh, Cobbs, yeah.
They were both reliable receivers.
Yep.
But they lacked, for one, anything beyond those 2, and also no versatility. Terrell is okay as a deep threat. Cobb's not really much of a deep threat. He's more of a possession receiver. So the fact that they have possession receivers, slot receivers, and deep threats, you got everything you want out of a passing game. And now you got the quarterback who's throwing the ball to him.
Right, yeah, you've got a quarterback who can push the ball down the field better than your other guys who you have on your roster. So that's why it's really important for that offensive line to keep him protected and to give him time, because he's going to make those throws. He's going to push the ball downfield. So that offensive line, that needs to be shored up a bit and a little more consistent for Utah State to start gaining some success and some momentum.
So let's touch on one other thing with the offense. That's the running backs. So we talked about the wide receivers and tight ends, basically the pass catchers as far as skill positions, and even touched on the quarterback there, just with the overall passing game, but the running game with the running backs. Came into the season expecting a three-headed monster at running back. And that's kind of what's happened. Injuries have really started to throw a wrench into this. Briggs has had trouble staying healthy. It feels like every running back has left a game at some point. None of them have missed significant times. I think Briggs is the only player to actually miss a game. But I guess just how do you feel? How do you feel about this running back room?
Well, good thing it was a three-headed monster coming into it, because we saw moments where each one has had great moments. And each one of them have had big runs that they've been responsible for. It'd be great to have them healthy and have them all available. In fact, I think Devon Booth talked a little bit about that. Running back room has been dinged up a little bit, but it's good to have a little friendly competition among the three main running backs.
Right now it's kind of shaky. A lot of us are kind of shaky right now, but when we're all healthy, it's fun with playing with them. We're always in a competition, a friendly competition. So right now we're just hoping they get healthy so we can get back to our little game.
Yeah, it's nice to have all of them, but like I said, every single game it feels like one of them goes out. One of them tends to do the best. I think maybe all three of the backs have at least led the team in rushing once. Maybe I don't know. Faison and Booth have. I'm pretty sure Briggs might have. Not 100% sure though.
If he hasn't, he's been in the mix.
Yeah, everyone was in the mix in the Idaho State game.
Well,
They
yes.
all had a bunch of big runs.
Yes.
But yeah, I know Booth. He led the team in rushing. He had the 103 yards, which is the first. He was the first 100-yard rusher to do it against James Madison in like 8 games. So clearly had himself day. And right now on the season, he's the leader in rushing, both in rushing yards and rush attempts. He has 42 rush attempts, 238 yards, pair of touchdowns. Razul Faison's number 2. He's got 20 rushes, so less than half of what Booth's been doing. He does have an impressive 191 yards, 9.6 yards per attempt, so not bad. Robert Briggs, though, he's been struggling where he's got 114 yards on 13 attempts. I said he missed a game. He only took like 1 or 2 carries in this last game against James Madison, left with, I think it was an ankle injury. And I think, I mentioned the 114 yards. I think half of that came against that one run against Idaho State.
In one game against Idaho State, yeah. Yeah, 58 yards on one run for Briggs. So, yeah, I mean, I like Booth, and I think he's certainly proven to be the most consistent, most reliable, but that needs to continue. I know Faison, it'll be interesting to see how he plays, because this is going home for him. He's from Connecticut by way of Snow College to Utah State, but he is a native of Connecticut. So be interesting to see if he gets featured a little bit more or takes a little bit more opportunities to have a lot of family and friends there to watch him play, which is a very rare opportunity for him.
Yeah, now Faison was healthy for pretty much all of the last game, but Booth got the majority of snaps, majority of carries. And here's Blake Anderson, who's asked about that because Booth seemed to be emerging as a starter. And so Blake talked a little bit about why Devon Booth got most of the snaps and carries against James Madison.
Well, Briggs has been hurt, and he hurt or at least tweaked the ankle early and didn't feel like he could be effective. All the different things we were seeing in terms of pressures was a lot for Faison. He's just still getting acclimated to what we do in our offense, and there's a lot. And protectionally, we were concerned. And then Booth was playing extremely well. So when you got a guy that's got a hot hand, you kind of go to it. I trust Rodney to have the right guy out there for the situation. And I think he's done a really good job of having the right guy out there when we needed him and the guy that's going to do the best job. And I thought, he got it right this week. Devon had a great game. We got better as the game went on, and he gave us a chance to win. He put us in a good position.
Yeah, Booth certainly did a pretty good job. His running really helped open up a couple of drives, get some key first downs, and keep drives going that eventually resulted in points to help tie the game. A couple of texts coming through on the text line, then we'll go ahead and take a break. 9315 says, on this team, who looks like they're training to play in the NFL with stats, and what can you see from your eyes? I don't know if there's anybody that I'm looking at that has NFL potential, or at least that I see trending toward the NFL.
Ike Larson.
Yeah, he
right now probably has the best chance.
Yeah, I think the problem is the guys you would like the most. Maybe they're trending toward the NFL are like really young.
Yeah, that's still a year or two away.
I know Switzer's eyeing, going to the NFL. I mean, Blake talked about Switzer's moving to linebacker, and Anderson said, yeah, if he's got ambitions for the NFL, Switzer would play linebacker. So I mean, there's maybe a hint that Switzer's going to try. But I don't know how much real NFL prospects there are among some of these guys. Vaughn, maybe, but he's not fast enough for his size. Tompkins kind of getting away with being 5'7" because he's lightning quick. Vaughn doesn't quite have that. So right now, wouldn't quite say anybody. There's probably a guy or two that, could make a camp. But right now, the Aggies are kind of lacking in potential. And if they have guys with that potential, they're super young, and you have to put an asterisk next to it and say, let's wait and see if they continue this. 7241 says, we were talking about the station being soundproof. So I can stop by the station if you want to test the soundproofing. I've got ways of making a lot of noise. And he does.
Nice.
He also adds in the text, if the Aggies play the first quarter like they do, the other 3 quarters, they could easily be 4-0 right now. Does that level of talent potentially make you more or less optimistic for the rest of the season? And the thing is, I've been talking more optimistic after pretty much every single game. I know the Air Force one started to trend a little bit downward because they kept losing. And I guess that's kind of the point, is that you were optimistic with the flashes after Iowa, loved what we saw after Idaho State, and then in 2 straight games, we keep seeing the flashes that we saw against Iowa and Idaho State, but they're not putting it together. So you keep loving the flashes. You love McKay Hillstead going for 399 yards. You love Devon Booth going for 100 yards against James Madison. You love what the wide receivers are doing. You love, a bunch of different things. But for whatever reason, they can't put it together to win, so it doesn't matter.
Right, it's stringing them together. That's the issue. That's their challenge, being able to string it together, be consistent enough through 4 quarters, or at least building a strong enough lead early that you're okay in the 4th. But it's working the opposite. They're not good in the first, and they're having to try to dig out of it later. And it's proving to be too insurmountable so far through 3 of their 4 games.
Yeah, you can't keep coming back from down 20 points.
No.
We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll start talking a little bit about Utah State basketball. Had a chance to talk to Danny Sprinkle, also Mason Falslev, after their first practice that they had yesterday in the Spectrum. That'll be coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Fall is here. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street. I invite you into our amazing store to see the new fall collection of amazing clothing, shoes, and outerwear for women and men. We have brands like Cool, Fiore, Fjallraven, and we have brought in some new brands from Europe that you will love. Trust me, you will look truly unique in whatever you buy from the Sportsman. Come in and let us take care of you. You'll be glad you did. For over 75 years, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
Spend less time at the post office. With Formax and Mint mailing systems from Les Olson IT, you can quickly, accurately, and easily process your outgoing mail and even save on postage. Fold your documents, stuff and seal your envelopes, print addresses, weigh and measure to apply proper postage, all with the click of a button. With multiple model options available, you're sure to find a Formax solution and Mint mailing device that perfectly fits your business needs.
Les Olson IT.
Not everyone has been in an accident, but everyone knows someone who has. If you or a loved one has been hurt in a car, truck, motorcycle, cycling, or pedestrian accident, call the Advocates today, now with offices in Cache Valley. The Advocates offer free consultations. Talk with an experienced attorney and let an advocate guide you through your case and take over the stress of phone calls with the insurance company so you can rest and get better. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate. Chat online at utahadvocates.com or call 801-355-5550.
While you're doing whatever it is you do, we're testing, retesting, engineering, and re-engineering to keep up with you. We run together.
Your local Trane dealer, JM Mechanical, has moved to 222 West 2850 North, North Logan, just north of Airport Road. Fast 24-hour heating service is available in Box Elder, Cache County, and Franklin County with a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
It's hard to stop a train.
Are you in need of excellent surgical care? Budge Clinic General Surgery offers the future of surgery with state-of-the-art robotic-assisted procedures. From cancer treatments to surgical needs, they've got you covered. Call Budge Clinic General Surgery today, 435-716-1950, to schedule a consultation and experience the best possible outcome. Trust Drs. Anderson, Marshall, McKenna, and Peterson, the experts at Budge Clinic General Surgery, helping people live the healthiest lives possible.
Want to set yourself apart from the competition? The Leadership MBA at Utah State University will help you lead companies and drive change in your organization. You can attend in person in Logan on Thursday evenings or take an interactive online class. Complete your MBA in as little as a year. Apply before November 1st to be considered for a January start. Contact the MBA office for a waiver of the $55 application fee. Learn more at utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com.
It doesn't matter who you root for. The Full Court Press has all the high school sports covered. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker with you here. Excuse Eric Frandsen. He's left the building. At least I assume he's about left the building. He's heading up to Utah State practice. Going to talk to a couple of players on the Utah State football team. I believe he's going to talk to Elliot Nimrod and Paul Fitzgerald. I think are the two players he will be getting a chance to talk to. Fitzgerald starting as I think either a redshirt freshman or a sophomore. I think he redshirted last season, but certainly a young player who's been playing a big role on that Utah's defensive line. Elliot Nimrod, obviously, with the fake field goal. He's the second straight kicker for the Aggies to have a rushing touchdown. Connor Cole's getting one last year against, I think, New Mexico, and then Elliot Nimrod rushing from 18 yards out. And probably a really impressive run. Cole's just kind of ran through the line, was just like wide open, and nobody really even touched him. Elliot Nimrod, he had to break a tackle, and then may or may not have stepped out of bounds. Ask Kurt Signetti about that. He certainly had opinion. He voiced it during that game. But I wanted to shift focus a little bit to Utah State basketball. Had a chance to go watch more practice than I was expecting. We were texted, I think it was Monday morning or maybe Sunday night, about Utah State's first practice. They're doing immediate availability, and they said practice is going to end at 1:45. So show up about 20-ish minutes early. So I showed up 20-ish minutes early, I technically showed up about 25 minutes early, but, that's why that ish is there. I was slightly early. Of course, I arrived earlier than I expected anyway. I was expecting to arrive at 1:25, was there 5 minutes early. Practice didn't actually end until about 2:45. So got to watch about an hour and a half's worth of practice, more than I bargained for, but certainly a chance to watch a lot of the practice, get a view of some of the players. Obviously right now things aren't going to be pretty. Didn't expect them to be pretty, but had a chance to watch these players, the effort they're putting in, the coaching that Danny Sprinkle is trying to use with these players. Right now, early on, there's going to be a lot of teaching moments, and there were a lot of teaching moments. That's how it is. Of course, that's the way it is in every practice. They'll run a play, they'll stop it halfway through, and they'll coach you through the mistake that you made. And Monday was certainly no exception. There are a lot of things they need to get through, and Danny Sprinkle is trying to instill all of those things with his team, with a completely new group of players. He basically knows two of these guys. He's had Darius Brown. He's had Great Osbar, and those two players followed him from Montana State to Utah State, and so they know a little bit of the system. They know a little bit what's going on. Of course, I think Darius Brown was one of a couple players who was there and was dressed for practice but wasn't participating. I think him, Khalifa Sacco, and Max Agbunk-Polo. I think Max Agbunk-Polo, he's also dressed for practice. Him and Brown were both dressed in their practice, jerseys and shorts, but they weren't participating as long as I was there. I don't remember seeing Khalifa Sacco. I don't know if he was just there and I didn't recognize him. I know what he looks like, but I don't know how I would miss a 6'11", 230-pound man, but didn't notice him. But not really any major injuries to report as of right now. They're just kind of held out of that first practice. As I said, 2 of them were in practice gear, which is usually a good sign if they're being held out, but are still wearing their practice gear. It means they're probably participating to some degree. So they're not majorly injured. So, but did get a chance to talk to Mason Falslev, the former Skyview star, playing 4 years there. Big star for them. Won a state championship with the Bobcats. He redshirted last year. It was a pretty quick decision for him to redshirt. We knew he was going to redshirt really early on. I was like, yeah, he's going to redshirt. So didn't play all of last year. Now he's one of the only returners on the team. And he's one of the only returners that didn't even play last year. But he has a chance to play a role on this team. When there's so many new players, there's a role open for him. There's no incumbents for any starting spot. Every single, position out there is up for grabs, and so Falslev has a chance. So I had a chance to talk to him after the practice, and so here's Mason Falslev speaking with the media after the first practice of Utah State's 2023-24 basketball season.
At them and whoever asks you a question.
Oh gosh. Just look at them or look at you?
Well, I'll ask the first question so you can look at me. But then you can look at me. Perfect. So Mason, first official practice, new team, but not the first time you played together, but first official. How did it feel out there?
It felt good. We've been going hard since June, so it wasn't like a huge switch up or anything. We're out here a little bit longer, and it was just a good solid day. Got better, so it was good.
What's that been like for you to go through learning new guys to play with and all that you played with last year and stuff, and a new coach and everything else? Yeah,
it is hard because I think we had 12 new guys come in, or maybe even 13. And, the first couple weeks, it's hard to bring in 13 new guys and play together as a team because, we're all fighting for time. We're all trying to be better, So at first it was really hard, but, we've learned from each other and we learned what worked for other people, and it's starting to come together, so I'm really excited.
How long do you think it'll kind of take you guys to be able to gel all together? Because you had, a few weeks basically. How long do you think that process can take as far as being ready for the season?
I think it's an all-year thing. Obviously we want to be on top of our game towards the end of the season, but it would be great to have it rolling at the start, but that's how teams go. There's a lot of ups and downs, and hopefully we can be going up at the right time.
It's like to be kind of the face, you, Landon, and Isaac, kind of the face of the Aggies right now.
That's new. It's funny, It's funny because they're both my roommates. So it was just like us at home. We were just chilling there for a while, waiting to see who was on our team, what coach we were going to have. So it's been quite the process, but it's been really fun.
How much has Grade and Brown told you about Coach Sprinkle that helps you players know what to expect? Has that been part of it too?
Oh yeah, they help us out a lot. Coach Sprinkle, he likes things a certain way, and it's really helpful to have guys who have played with him last year and a few years before, so they can help us to know what to do and to know what Coach Sprinkle likes. So it's been good.
So how's that adjustment been, with Sprinkles? Odom, you seem kind of laid back at times. Sprinkles seems a little more intense. What's it been like for you guys just adjusting to that and being ready for it?
It's definitely different. Wow, it's like a 180 flip. Last year we didn't really focus on defense a whole lot. We more focused on offense, and this year from the start we've been working on our defense, getting in all the right gaps and all the right spots. So it's been totally different, but it's been super good. I'm super excited.
It's been a while since you played.
I know. 3 years. 3 years.
You have to be pretty anxious.
I'm so excited for the season to start. I can't wait. Super happy.
Yeah, so that was Mason Falslev after yesterday's practice. And, yeah, certainly a couple of themes there. Mason, one of the few returners. He's obviously really excited. And yeah, as far as, difference between Ryan Odom and Danny Sprinkle, it's obviously an emphasis on defense is a big thing. That was absolutely huge. They were defense. That's going to be a key for the Aggies this season. I actually want to play, the clip from Danny Sprinkle, because that was one of the things he talked about. Is, they got to be good on defense. So here's the audio from Danny Sprinkle after yesterday's practice.
Your first official practice of the season. Just how did it feel to get out there today?
It was good. I think the guys are competing and they're finally in, a little bit of shape. But it's nice to be able to go longer than an hour and 10 minutes and actually you feel like you're kind of getting stuff done and you can slow down a little bit. You don't have to rush through that hour and 10 minutes. And so it was good, and I thought the guys responded well.
Questions for
It's different now than it used to be, where you can practice more, though, off-season.
Yes.
If you were the new coach coming in, and today would have been your first day, it would have been a lot different than it is now.
Yeah, I remember, it was probably 12, 15 years ago where you couldn't start until it was like October 15th, and it's crazy to think of now, like you were playing a game 2 weeks later. Where now, you have summer access, and so you have, you can be around your guys more and you learn more about the new guys, which on our team is everybody. But no, it is good because we were able to implement some stuff in the summer and actually carry that through. So yeah, everybody's a little bit further ahead.
And I asked Mason about that, but the guys who played with you before, they kind of need to tell everybody kind of how to do things all the time.
Yeah.
In some ways, is that a help to you too?
It is. It's, Darius and Gray have been a huge help, because obviously not only here, but in the locker room, like they can talk to guys out of practice, like, hey, this is how we do things. And, on the court, it's a lot easier sometimes for players from peer to peer, instead of coach to player all the time. And so when they're hearing it, it's a different voice, which is good.
Did you like what you saw today? Like you said, they've had some practices, but
a little bit. I liked like we're playing more physical. We're starting to get into it a little bit. We're turning the ball over way too much. For us to have a chance to win this year, we can't turn the ball over. We don't have, the scoring threats that they've had here. So we gotta find different ways to score, and we can't turn the ball over.
So how hard do you have to push these guys in these early? Because obviously not only have to instill a new system, and obviously you're developing guys constantly, but everyone has to learn, your system. How hard do you have to push these guys?
Yeah, we got to push them because we got to be ready. Nobody cares that we have 13 new guys. Nobody cares, that a lot of them are new and just playing with each other. And so we got to find a way to get them to blend. And they've been doing a good job. Like they're each starting to, sacrifice a little bit more and more, because a lot of the transfers that we brought in, they were used to scoring on their team, and you only get one shot. One guy can shoot. All five guys can't shoot on the possession. And so, they're starting to play more together, which I'm proud of.
It is a new mentality for the three guys who've been here before. I can tell defensively, you're a different. Your defense is the number one thing you're talking about all the time.
Yeah. We have to. We have to defend to have a chance to win this year. Like I mentioned, we don't have, the Ashworth and Shulga and Barrett and those guys running around scoring, in a tremendous offensive team. So in order for us to win, that's going to have to be our staple this year.
You feel like you're deep so far? Do you feel like you've got a lot of guys who can maybe contribute? Where are you
I think we can. I think this team's going to be a work in progress. We're not going to really know who this team is until January. We're going to have to play 10 to 15 games and see who shines when the lights are on and the popcorn's popping and it's not practice. There's a lot of guys that make shots in the summer and make shots in practice that can't do it in the games. And so, everybody's going to get their shot. But, we had a couple guys out today, obviously Max and Darius and Khalifa. Three guys that are going to be important to us this year that weren't in practice either.
Are they long-term deals out?
No, they, hopefully not. Yeah, and so just kind of, a little bit banged up.
So that was Utah State men's basketball coach Danny Sprinkle after yesterday's practice. And so certainly some themes coming out there. For one, Danny Sprinkle, he's not sugarcoating this team, who they are, what they are right now. He's honest, saying, look, they're a work in progress. They're not going to fully know what this team is, until January. So that's their entire non-conference schedule. Runs through January. So they're going to spend the entire non-conference schedule figuring out who this team is, exactly who they are, what they're capable of, which players are going to step up, in games. Because, some of these guys working hard in practice, making plays in practice. But how many of these guys are going to make plays against Bradley? How many are going to make plays against Fresno State, San Diego State, Boise State? All these different teams the Aggies got to face, somebody's going to need to step up. And I've got ideas for who I think is going to step up, and now I've watched the team a little bit and maybe seen, all right, how much of what I've thought of is true. We're going to find things out. And yet Danny's saying, like, they got to defend if they're going to have a chance. And honestly, kind of watching the team in practice, I think he's certainly right. This is a team that's going to have to depend on its defensive prowess to be able to win games. And we kind of figured that before, but now seeing the practice, hearing what Danny Sprinkle saying, like, yeah, it's all confirming what we've kind of suspected, where this team needs to be good defensively, needs to be great defensively, if they're going to be really successful this season. And it's why I've been a little lower. I know there's some people who are thinking they're going to be as good or better than last season. I've heard takes like that. Not many, but I've heard takes. They'll be better than last season. I wouldn't buy that right now. Want to see who this team is as far as their ability to play defense and play good enough offense. Be elite defensively and play good enough on offense. That's the only way you get anywhere close to last year's team, is if they're elite defensively and good enough on offense. That's the path of success for the Aggies this season. And we'll see. They're going to play a lot more practices. They're going to be instilling a lot more concepts. They're going to work on getting those turnovers down. They're going to work on getting those open shots, seeing how the flow of the offense, working together. Because these are a lot of guys who, Javon Jackson, he was the guy at his Division II. Darius Brown was, the main point guard over at Montana State. Great at Osbar. He was used to getting a lot of touches when he was in the game. Josh Udije, he was the guy where he was at. And they've all got to gel together and mesh and work. Have everything work for everyone. Making sure the team's at its best. So we'll keep getting those ideas. I'll have a little bit more written content coming out just talking about this team and what expectations we should have and what to expect from each of these players. But for now, we're going to take another break. On the other side, talk a little bit about the Aggies in the NFL. How did they do this week? We did talk about Jordan Love yesterday, but just go down the list. How did the Aggies in the NFL do? We'll have that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. My brother Travis and I opened our first store here in Logan in 2010 by Big 5 Sports. Recently, we opened our second location by Red Balloon Toys. We carry the world's best beds, IntelliBed Purple, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy Posturepedic. And yes, we are the ones that tease Lewiston once in a while. We're 6th generation Cache Valley family, and chances are that you or your neighbor have bought a bed from us, and we value that more than anything. Come into the North or South My Mattress today and sleep better tonight. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally?
Elements has delicious lunch specials. Soup, salad, and bread for just $10 is tasty and quick. Elements' lunch menu is full of scrumptious items. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecued chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite, Chipotle fried chicken sandwich. Thursdays, enjoy Elements house-made smoked brisket. Casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Do you have a backup generator, or have you explored the options of adding one to your home? Generac backup generators will keep your home or business safe and cool during the summer months if the power goes out. Do you already have a system? Golden Spike Electric can service it for you. If you don't have one, Golden Spike Electric can find the right model for your needs. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
If you've recently moved into our community or are attending Utah State, on behalf of the Cache Valley Media Group, we welcome you. As you settle in, we encourage you to support our local businesses. In fact, pick up a free copy of the Best of Northern Utah magazine. Let it be your compass for discovering the best our community has to offer, from quaint bookstores to delicious bakeries, electricians to dentists, coffee shops to florists. These businesses were voted the very best in our community. Go to bestofnorthernutah.com for magazine pickup locations.
Sunday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL and NFC East rivalry is renewed in Philadelphia as the Eagles host the Washington Commanders. Hi, this is Chris Carino. Join Brian Baldinger and me for all the action as we kick off October football. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles haven't been perfect, but they're a perfect 3-0. They'll look to stay unbeaten as they tussle with Sam Howell and the Commanders. It's the Eagles and the Commanders. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Pre-game begins Sunday morning at 10:30 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans,
Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
435-339-0321. That's the number you can text in. Join the Full Court Press via the text line. Talking about Aggies in the NFL, have a decent number of Aggies in the NFL right now. I think there are 9 former Aggies that are playing for NFL teams. At least by the Aggies in the NFL release. They aren't counting Jalen Warren, which I don't know why. I mean, I know why. I mean, he went to Oklahoma State, and that's where he finished his career. But, you know, they count guys who transferred to Utah State from elsewhere, I'm pretty sure. You know, because they count Dallin Levitt, who came here from, I believe he transferred from BYU. So, just looking at the former Aggies that are currently NFL, I mean, the headliner was Jordan Love. We talked about him yesterday. You know, his rally with the Green Bay Packers to beat the Saints 18-7. Scored a rushing touchdown. They went for 2 after scoring that touchdown to go down 17-11. And then he throws the game-winning touchdown pass. With about 3 minutes left to go, Love finishes 22 of 44. So not the greatest completion percentage, but he completes only 50% of his passes. Did get 259 yards, 1 touchdown, did have an interception in that game. And as I said, the rushing touchdown, also 39 rushing yards. He was the leading rusher for the Packers. Just touching on a couple of other guys. A lot of guys playing special teams snaps. You had Jalen Davis, who played mostly special teams. He did play, you know, a handful of, you know, actual defensive snaps. You know, I think it's 3 defensive snaps, but mostly played on special teams for the Cincinnati Bengals, who won 19-16 over the Rams. Tyler Larson, an offensive lineman for the Commanders, interior offensive lineman. He actually was cut by the Commanders, signed back on after the roster cuts. Right now, he's a reserve offensive lineman. He's on the field goal, protection unit, and Washington lost 37-3, so he only got to play the 1 snap on special teams. Dallin Levitt, also with the Packers and with Jordan Love, playing pretty much entirely special teams. He's one of the key special teams guys for Green Bay. So he played 22 special team snaps, playing with the coverage units and different things like that. So Dallin Levitt playing his key role, obviously not one of the key defenders, but a big special teams guy. And that's where he's earned his keep in the NFL, being special teams with, I believe, the Raiders and the Packers now. Patrick Scales doing his usual thing as long snapper for the Bears. The Bears lost 41-10, so not a whole lot of time there for Patrick Scales. Not a lot for him to do, at least on scoring units. They're obviously doing a little bit with the punt team. Devin Tompkins, he's carved out a reserve role as a wide receiver. He's getting a handful of targets per game. He got a couple of targets in Tampa Bay's. Well, hold on. I might be looking at the wrong week here. I think I pulled up. Yeah, I pulled up the wrong. I was looking at the wrong game when I was looking at what Devin Tompkins had done. Because the Buccaneers lost 25-11 against the Eagles. Devin Tompkins is getting 2 catches. He got 4 targets, but he only caught the ball twice for 6 yards. He had a 5-yard catch and a 1-yard reception. And, he's their kicker returner and punt returner, but didn't have any returns of either. Mainly because he would have either fair caught or just let all the different punts go. Or with kickoffs, touchbacks are the norm these days. You're not getting too many opportunities to return kicks. So not much for Devin Tompkins to do. Then looking at Bobby Wagner, he had 5 tackles in Seattle's 37-27 win over Carolina. So Bobby Wagner doing his typical thing with Seattle. A little low on the tackle numbers. He's typically a guy who can get anywhere between 10 and 15 per game, but going to have a down game every now and again in terms of tackles. But that's the Aggies in the NFL. I guess we can double check what I forgot to check what Jalen Warren did, even though he's not kind of counting as a former Aggie in the NFL, but I like to keep tabs on him. Just trying to see, how he does. He's a reserve back. Najee Harris is the main guy, but Jalen Warren getting 8 carries for 29 yards. Added 3 receptions for 23 yards, so not a bad game for him. He's carved out his own role with the Pittsburgh Steelers there. The former Aggie transferred to Oklahoma State. So that's the Aggies in the NFL. Going to take another break. I'll be back, then we'll finish up the show here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
For more than a decade, Integrity Home Health and Hospice has been changing patient lives, outcomes, futures, and now we're changing our name. Integrity is now proud to be called Aggies Home Health and Hospice. Aggies, A-E-G-I-S. At Aggies, we're dedicated to compassion, character, and trust. We will ensure you experience the difference as we meet your home health and hospice needs. I'm Melissa Fieser. Our team promises to go above and beyond with compassion and care. Call us today, 435-723-9000, or find us online at myagis.com.
S.C. Needham Jewelers is where Utah gets engaged. Couples throughout the state buy their rings from S.C. Needham Jewelers because of our low prices, extensive ring selection, and extraordinary benefits and services with financing available. Go to scneedham.com to learn more. We have many unique and beautiful engagement rings starting at $500. You'll find affordable engagement rings with our integrity price guarantee. This is why we are where Utah gets engaged. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Make it 3 years in a row. Advanced Heating and AC is honored to be named gold medalist for the best of Northern Utah in the AC HVAC category. They thank you for your support and vote of confidence in their company. You have many choices when it comes to your home's heating and air conditioning system. Make sure you choose the gold medal winning company, Advanced Heating and AC. Call 752-7272 or stop by their showroom west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com. The people have spoken. Steel-coated epoxy floors of Cache Valley is the 3-time gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah. Known for their extremely durable floor coating systems, they can completely transform your concrete, garages and shops, porches and patios. They coat it all. With over 25 years of operation, Steel-coated epoxy floors is Cache Valley's premier coating professionals. Contact Steel-coated floors of Cache Valley today. Find them online at scfcachevalley.com or call 435-512-1284. The Cache Valley Media Group is currently looking for a traffic coordinator and an administrative assistant. Duties include scheduling radio and digital ads, assisting with sales, answering phones, greeting the public, and data entry with a high level of accuracy. Must have knowledge of Excel and Word and have basic accounting experience. Previous media experience is a plus, but not required. Spanish is helpful. Starting pay is $16 per hour. Benefits and training provided. Send resume to jobs@cvradio.com. That's jobs@cvradio.com. An equal opportunity employer.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Finishing things up here on the Full Court Press, Jason Walker. Eric Frandsen's getting some. Hopefully, he's getting some good interviews up at practice for Utah State football practice, talking with Elliot Nimrod and Paul Fitzgerald. We'll play that audio tomorrow. We'll have that for you as we continue this whole week previewing Utah State against UConn. We'll have most of our predictions out on Thursday. We do our prediction Thursdays every week. And we'll see how this goes. Probably talk about expectations, because Blake Anderson, he was asked about expectations, what he's expecting from this team the rest of the season. And now that we're through 4 games, we're a third of the way through the season. Talked about resetting expectations last week, but I want to get Eric's opinion. Just talking about what we should expect from the Aggies. Eric's actually perfectly predicted. His predictions, his preseason predictions have been spot on so far. I've missed on one game. Had the Aggies beating Air Force, was wrong about that. Heck, I think I had them beating James Madison in my preseason predictions. Last Thursday, I changed my mind, had the Aggies losing against James Madison. Turned out to be right. We'll see. Have our expectations overall changed? Eric had the Aggies missing a bowl game. Does he still think that? I had the Aggies making a bowl game. Is that still what we should expect out of these Aggies? We'll see. This season is turning out to be fairly volatile. Played 3 really good teams, played an FCS team, and the Aggies have 3 losses and a win over an FCS team. And I don't know, it's a young team. It's a team that's had a lot of self-inflicted errors, but it's a team with a lot of promise. Anyway, that'll do it for us today. We'll get into all those questions tomorrow. Also an interview with Utah State hockey coach tomorrow.